Hello and welcome to Raider HQ After Dark. I'm your host, Raider. And in this video, it's going to be a rant. If you have an aversion to ranting, that just me just yammering on about stuff, then click away. Calgon, take me away. Click away right now because this is going to be a rant. And the focus of this rant is going to be on we're going to revisit some topics that I've touched upon in many different videos, but we're going to culminate this based upon something that I watched from another YouTuber today. And it's about the tone of the things that you submit, but more importantly, the tone of the things that people submit on your behalf. Now, I had watched an accredited attorney's video, and I don't have anything against them. I don't have anything against their channel. I don't have anything personally against what they did other than what I'm going to explain, the consequences of what they did, and the unforeseen and the blatant disregard for the potential consequences of what they did, and why it would behoove you to not do that. So let's dive into it. So essentially, what the accredited attorney had talked about was that what they like to do is they will monitor their veterans claim, right? And they will watch to see if private DBQs and medical opinions are submitted on the, by the veteran or by them, that they look to see if new exams are ordered. Because, and then what they do is they will typically, if new exams are ordered, then they will complain to they'll figure out who the person is that's doing the claim, and then they will find out who their boss is, their coach, and then they will complain to them. Now, some of you might be thinking that, okay, we're nipping it in the bud, right? We saw something that's wrong, and rather than get me claims, we should get my stuff adjudicated with the evidence of record that I submitted. That's what that's the way this works. So I'm gonna take a different stance on this. Okay. I just devil's advocate for just a second. Okay. And I'm going to say that if you go to the person that is deciding your claims boss and you point out that that person isn't doing things right, whether or not that's true or not, because the way that it was explained kind of made it sound like it's not an absolute. Just because you file a private DBQ, there is sufficiency, authenticity, review requirements. There's all these things that need to be done. So rather than go full 10 out of 10 Karen, I might say right message, wrong presentation, right? Because I don't know if you've, imagine going and upsetting the cop that's getting ready to pull you over. They determine the outcome of that transaction, right? Like, would you like to be erroneously arrested or accosted in some way, shape, or form? Now, not all police officers are bad or anything like that, but I can imagine that somebody with power and both authority, you upsetting them and pissing them off and making them look bad in front of their boss, well, I think all the altruism leaves their body, right? And the similar thing is true with the Raiders. And the reason why that is currently is because of the current environment. Now, this is not a political statement or anything like that. The VA itself is currently downsizing people. It is currently it is on a mission to find people, air quotes, that are not performing up to standard. So if you, the natural thing is, if you accuse them of being wrong, guess what they're going to do? They're going to do everything within their power to be, air quote, right. And I'm going to clue you in on something. The right part of that is not beneficial for the veteran. This is how QRT normally behaves, right? QRT can only get 2 errors in a year. So they will fight. Like if they call an error and you rebut it and say, well, wait a minute, you're not actually accurate on that. It doesn't matter. I had to fight. This is just me. I one time, and this might dox me a little bit, but I didn't get a secondary medical opinion for fatty liver one time. The examiner had, in their medical opinion, said, well, wait a minute, fatty liver could have been caused by this and this and this. I received a quality error because I didn't go and seek out additional development to get a secondary medical opinion for fatty liver. So I write up this rebuttal and say, hey, look, you guys understand that if I did what you're telling me to do, you would have legitimately given me an error. Well, they say, up, the error is upheld. So I use my second recon and say, look, guys, I'm not gonna. I don't understand what you're doing here. You clearly aren't reading what's going on here. You shouldn't give me this error. It's not right. Well, they uphold that one. And then we have a third recon ability where we have like a video to video type situation, a face to face with the person that called the quality error, their quality leadership, like 5 people, right? Like, I mean, we get everybody involved and then we hash it out. Well, I went to my coach and said, look, I'm going to embarrass these people because here's the manual reference that says fatty liver itself can never be granted. It's not a disability for VA purposes. So if I would have taken the action that they said, it would have been a legitimate quality error. And you sure as heck know they would have called me on it. They would have called me on it all day long. They would have pivoted to that had I fixed it, because then they would latch on to the fact of I wasn't wrong, you did the wrong thing. That doesn't make any sense. It had nothing to do, it would have nothing to do with the first error that they called, but they would latch on to it and confirm and continue during the third one that, yes, you did the wrong action. So I got it overturned because I went to my coach and said, look, I'm going to embarrass them in public. I'm going to get mean and I'm going to knife fight them proverbially. And I'm going to say, so 3 of you rocket scientists couldn't figure out, and this is your day job, that you guys could not figure out that fatty liver is not a disability for VA purposes. And I'm the one that's in the wrong here. But 3 of you GS-13s couldn't figure it out. Okay, that's fine. Coach, it's on you. You can go talk to them and you can go clear this up if you want to, but I will embarrass them publicly because I'm tired of this. It's part of the reason why I don't. But that's how severe quality errors are. Now, you might say, Raider, wow, that doesn't sound like you. I mean, I don't know you personally, but you typically sound pretty even keeled. Well, that's because errors are a big deal. Like, your quality is a big deal because you only get so many pulls a month. So if you get an artificially lowered number, it's bad. So let's circle back to the original point of it. If you go to somebody's coach and you start pointing out that they're not doing something right, well, you get on somebody's radar. And that is something you don't want to be. So you will take extraordinary steps to get off of it. Now, what are those extraordinary steps, you might say? Well, I don't know if you ever heard of like manifest destiny, where you make things happen. Well, sometimes raiders and VSRs can make things be true, right? Let me give you some examples of some things that I've witnessed raiders and VSRs do to cover up a quality type issue when somebody called them out for doing the wrong thing. Now, this is where the disposition comes in and this is where the bias comes in. Because if you're going to say, hey, look, they shouldn't do that, I agree with you. I agree with you 1,000%. And each one of these examples, I went in and corrected the thing that they did. I overturned it because I had the authority to do so. But that's not the case every single time. But this behavior is based upon the quality system. So whenever I'm talking about, going full Karen to somebody's manager is not a good idea because the veteran will suffer. So the first one, a VSR got really upset because they got called out in a congressional, right? And the veteran was saying some things like, you didn't do this on the, like you didn't include this evidence on so-and-so because you should have done a a Terra medical opinion for my, I'm going to say hypertension. That's what it was. But, my Terra, my MOS related Terra, you didn't keep that into consideration. You didn't do so-and-so. You didn't take all these actions. Well, guess what the VSR did? Well, they went in and just changed the memo and took away all of the MOS related Terra to where the exam wouldn't have been justified. And they had all the authority to do that because the MOS related Terra, so rather than order the exam and admit that they were wrong and show that they were wrong to where they could get a quality review on it that was negative, that would count against their yearly quality, they went in and just took it all away. Even though you could see it, they took it all away because getting an error on the Terra memorandum at the time wasn't a critical error. So they ended up just basically making it to where the veteran didn't get the exam and it was legitimate. They couldn't win on appeal. Like, right? They couldn't win at that time. You might have been able to win on a higher level review, but win to the point to get a new examination, to waste the veteran's time, to force them to have to file a new claim, to do all of these things because the veteran did a congressional that made the VSR look bad. Now, should they have done the congressional? I think it's right message, wrong presentation. So what they should have done is they should have done a 4138, VA Form 21-4138. Every time I say that, you have to donate. Just joking. And what they should have done is they should have compelled to the rater to say, hey, rater, can you please determine whether or not, like, I explicitly claim this? Can you do a second review on my Terra memorandum? Can you please review that? I should have gotten an exam on that because I explicitly claimed it. And doing the 4138 has two specific purposes. Number one, you are establishing mid-claim that you are highlighting that you think something didn't occur. Now, at the time that you do that, now the rater has to answer to that query, right? To that specific query. And they have to go, okay, I've reviewed it. Now they can either change the Terra memorandum and order a new exam, or in this case, it should have been use the private medical opinion that was given type situation. Or actually, I don't think that's what it was, but they should have gotten an exam is what should have happened. And then subsequently, that little document that is put into your claim allows you to also use it on a higher level review because you can be like, hey, look, I pointed it out during the claim that I should have gotten a Terra examination because I clearly, per the M21 manual, followed the rules to go in there and say that, I was exposed to this Terra. I should have gotten a Terra exam for this clearly, for hypertension. And so that right there is one example where the VSR, out of spite to not get an error, but also out of spite, I'm just gonna call it how I see it. It was spite. They went in, redid the Terra memo. So not only did they get points for redoing the Terra memo, they also iced the veteran out of getting the exam. Now I also got points for redoing the Terra memo and getting them the exam that they wanted. Right? Now, the veteran won in my case, right? Because I caught it. The statistics on that are not good in the VA currently. Okay? They're not good because everybody's looking out for themselves, for their quality. They are not wanting to stick their neck out for anything or anybody because they want to keep their job. And you might think, this is where the crazy sauce happens, is that you might think that doing the right thing means doing the right thing. But sometimes doing the right thing is doing the least wrong thing. The thing that you can't get an error for, because getting an error is more important than doing the right thing in a lot of times. I don't agree with it. I mean, I have eaten errors before because I'm like, look, this is veteran centric. We should be doing this thing right here. I have every right to do it. And if you want to take a different action, then you can have a different rater do it. But this is my decision, and I'm going to stand by my decision to support this veteran. Now, I had a couple of examples, but I think I forgot the other two. Oh no, it was the migraines one. It's where the veteran was talking smack about, and I don't mean to say it like that, but it was like the tone of it was bad. It was like, you can't do anything right. You guys are stupid, and expletive. And they were just going crazy. And I don't know why, but that caught the person that had it before me. They didn't like that. So they essentially wrote up this big long thing in the narrative explaining why they believed that the veteran, because the veteran was 30% for migraines and they were trying for 50%. So the 50% category is currently for like the last year since 2024 is currently the majority of that decision is decided by the rater. So the rater took their time to write up all, I mean, it was pretty well written, but you could just, I mean, it was dripping with poison on it, where they wrote up all this big thing saying that the veterans this and that, and I mean it was skimpy. Where the veterans uh, evidence didn't support that they were showed severe economic inadaptability. So how they poison the well is they say, yeah, I see that there is economic inadaptability, but because of this, and this, it doesn't seem to rise to the occasion of severe economic inadaptability. Technically, the raider has the right to do that. And technically, I didn't have the right to do what I did, but I overcame it and I overturned it and just rated them at 50%. Because I'm like, hey, look, they sent in this document right here that kind of brings the migraines back to issue. They submitted some additional evidence. So because they submitted the additional evidence, I was able to kind of go, okay, I'm going to reopen because the claim hadn't closed yet. And if you have a partial rating, you can still kind of address, you're still responsible for everything that was originally claimed, even though a different rater did the decision before you. So I looked at it and I was like, you know what? Um, because the crux of that one was they did a private DBQ, and the private DBQ said a bunch of things about how the impairment, they kind of used the old system where the examiner would say a lot of things. And then we sent them for an exam, and the new examiner didn't say any of those things. So they took that discrepancy as being evidence of evidence. And I didn't take it like that. I just, benefit of the doubt to the veteran on that one. Like, so I gave it to him. I gave him the 50%, but he never knew, right? He never knew that his own words potentially cost him the 50%. And that harkens back to the tone thing, right? Like I know that nobody likes to grovel. You shouldn't have to grovel. I'm not telling you to grovel. What I'm telling you, though, is professionalism, respectful tone, and don't embarrass, humiliate, and or upset the people that you are relying on them to take a specific action that is not set in stone, that they get to decide. It blows my mind that that people either are naive or they have a lot of faith where they shouldn't, but there's a lot of bias in the employees right now. There's a lot of fear. Okay. And fear makes people do stuff that's outside of their normal parameters. Like you'll have people that are on the up and up that are good raters, but if their quality's low, they'll do whatever it takes to be right. So if you call them out with being wrong, then they will do whatever it takes to be right. And that's dangerous. It's not good for the veteran. It's not good for anybody. And that's the current system. That's the system didn't used to be like this. Not as bad. But currently we have people that are calling quality errors based upon their feelings and not based upon the regulations. So they'll have, oh, I wouldn't have done it that way. Okay, but was what I did a clear and unmistakable error? Well, no. Then you can't call an error on me because it's not a clear and unmistakable error, dummy. And we're like, there's a lot of people that have that perspective. Now, I want to talk about disposition. You can ask any authorizer or promulgator about the absolute tornado of bad behavior that comes from deferring back to raters. Raters can be some divas. Okay. The one thing, like this is a rule, raters do not like to have their decisions questioned at all. Not in any way, shape, or form. They do not like it. You better be 1,000% right, and you better come to that right conclusion real quick if you're going to call them out, because they're petty, guys. some of them can be very petty, and a lot of them have bias and not good bias. They think that they are the gatekeepers for keeping you charlatans in check. And they are poised against the veteran. And I look, if I could purge them, I would, right? Like not violently or anything like that, but if we could get good actors in there. But you also need a good system, guys. You can't have a bad system that incentivizes people or encourages or uh, makes them want to do bad things in order to be right so they can keep their job. When if they just said, "Hey, yeah, okay, I'll change it." If it was a non-critical error, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll change it." Yeah. Then people wouldn't be resistant to doing the right thing. Sometimes doing the wrong thing and just all in is what they have to do. It's like a criminal, like sometimes they've got to keep being a criminal because they've gone too far. It's the same with sometimes like the Raiders won't go, "Oh, I was wrong." Some will. I mean, I have enough integrity to go, "Oh, my bad. That's my bad. Yeah, no. Okay. I'll change it. I'll update it." But I mean, yeah, that I'm a zebra, guys. You hear hoofbeats, I ain't showing up half the time. Horses are, not a zebra. So I just want to point this out because just circling back, be careful in how you write things up because you can snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory by your tone and how you approach things. Like I said, right message, wrong presentation. There are better ways to go about this because let me circle back to that accredited attorney. If there is no way for that transaction between them and the coach, that doesn't make it into your chart. That doesn't help on appeal. That doesn't support anything to do with a higher level review. That complaint is on a Teams message, which doesn't actually get recorded in your file. It's a separate program. It's just how the VA employees communicate with people throughout. So doing the 4138 and respectfully reporting that, like, "Hey, I believe it's sufficient. Can you please do a long form narrative and describe to me why it's insufficient? So that way on appeal, I can, amend those insufficiencies and, I can, because I want to use the private option to use my private DBQ." But guys, I can't with this. Like, there are so many people out there that are putting out this, "You need to do this." And just ask yourself, like, "I spit in the cop's face. He has to respect me." Like, what? No, 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 he doesn't. No, you better hope he had. You better hope he went to church today. Because yes, I know, Luna. I'm sorry, but I'm just saying, like, I don't have a good analogy for it, but it is 38 CFR 4.23. The attitude of the raider, right? The attitude of the raider. I'm actually going to bring it up. Um, this document sounds like it is to be remembered that the majority of applicants are disabled persons who are seeking benefits of law to which they believe themselves entitled in the exercise of his or her functions. Rating officers must not allow personal feelings to intrude. An antagonistic, critical, or even abusive attitude on part of a claimant should not, in any instance, influence the officer in the handling of the case. Fairness and courtesy must at all times be shown to applicants by all employees whose duties bring them in contact directly or indirectly with the department's claimants. Yep, it says it. Now enforce it. Prove to me it wasn't enforced. Show me exactly where the attitude of the rating officer was impaired. You can't. There's no way to validate this. There's no way to validate whether or not they were biased or unbiased. You can go to the BVA, I don't care. Like, but you can't prove beyond any reasonable doubt that the person had bias, that they were antagonistic, critical even. You can't. And it's not a clear and unmistakable error if they were. So I caution anybody that thinks that messing with somebody's boss is going to give the veteran they represent a favorable outcome. I would sparingly do that. I would do that with as much, I mean, I would slather that with honey. I would just be like, hey, look, I'm sorry. I hate to do this. You guys are awesome. You guys are great. I mean, sometimes you got to hold still, don't move. Kiss that booty. Shouldn't have to, but we live in the real world, guys. We're adults. You were in the military. You had to do things. You had to behave in a certain way in order to get the things that you wanted. This is reality. So please, if somebody is telling you, or if somebody is representing you and they want to go full, commando Karen on the situation, I would grab the reins and go, whoa. Okay. Because ask yourself, if somebody did that to you at your job, what would you do? Right? And if you tell me that I would handle it and do that, okay, well, think about it. Day in and day out, you got it coming and going. It's like telling a person in chronic pain to be nice all the time. Okay, like, cool, I'll do my best, but I don't know. I know I've rambled about this for a while. I've ranted about it, but don't do this, guys. Be respectful. Ask things in a question format. Hey, I was looking at this, just a layperson. Should this have been done this way? Question mark. Because that you can pose to the DRO. And that question, the DRO will tell you whether or not it should have been done or shouldn't have been done. But that's about all I got for you guys. I got a scratchy throat today, and I'm not picking on, some people saw me comment in their comment section. I'm not picking on them at all. I'm just saying, as a person on the other side of the fence on that, I don't think they understand the repercussions of their actions and how that can negatively affect the people that they're hoping to get service connected so they can get paid. I think I would try everything in my power to make sure I didn't, sabotage that. But I don't know. I mean, maybe they have maybe it works for them. I have heard of raiders actually, like, come over here. Look at this. Look at what happened. This guy's saying that I didn't do something right. I'll show him. I'm like, don't show him. No, please don't do that. That's not what we should do. I don't know, guys. But this is the summary of it, right? There are better ways to go about this. This is a process, and there doesn't need to be any calling any specific individuals out. It doesn't help the process. Your evidence is what will help your process. Establish evidence. Put your complaints respectfully in your claim while it's still open, so that way you can cite your complaints like any other evidence. In-service medical records, it's no different. Create the situation where you think that your stuff, where your private DBQ and your private medical opinion are sufficient. Have them do the long form narrative. I've given you guys these tools for a reason. It's because it increases the likelihood that you are not going to upset the people doing the claims, and also, like, appeal to their empathetic side and have them bend over backwards for you without you being a jerk face. You don't need to be a jerk face, and you shouldn't. Anyway, 29 minutes and 42 seconds. I'd like to thank everybody that has subscribed. I'd like to thank everybody who has commented. I'd like to thank everybody who are members, the Raiders and the VSRs. I appreciate you guys more than you know. We're getting closer to 5,000, and I'm going to be two things. So I'm going to be doing a live stream, an impromptu live stream, and the 5,000 subscriber mark time, whatever that looks like. It'll be hard to plan that, but we will see. And then also Saturday the 11th, the live stream will have to be moved. I have an obligation that entire day. So October 11th, Saturday, the live stream will either be Friday or Sunday. Weigh in on that in the comments, what you want to see. Anyway, this is me, Raider, and I'm just ranting. I'm sorry, guys, but Raider out.